Call the meeting to order. Yep, 6:01, calling the meeting to order. First on our agenda for the Economic Development Committee meeting in February. First on our agenda is a review of the minutes from our December 2024 meeting. And thank you for putting these together, Reagan. I looked at them, I didn't see anything out of place. But now would be the time for us to mention this. When we talked about, here's a question, and I don't know if it's in these minutes or not, but did we specify which lots are gonna be covered by the TIF district during that meeting? Are we gonna come to it in this meeting?
We can talk about that in this meeting. I can show you what's going to be in the affordable, what we're taking out of the
Right.
MTIF and what we're putting into the affordable housing TIF.
Okay,
So yes, we can look at that.
that'll come up under old business. Anyway, any suggestions on the minutes?
So look good.
Do I hear a motion?
That's the minute.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Hey, chair can't second. All right, all those. Okay, all those in favor. Sorry, you were locked out.
Oh my God.
Was
No,
Joe here?
You were in,
Did Joe Kroll attend? Or
we
we
did,
just-
yeah.
yeah, we did. Yeah.
You were in Zoom jail. Sorry about that. And we're watching the screen to see if Andy is gonna show up on the screen.
Yeah, I know. I keep looking over.
Let me, you wanna text him or send him a quick text? Hey, you coming? Hey, we have a quorum.
I can't see very well. I'm sorry, I had my eyes examined and they've been
Oh, they dilated?
dilated,
Yeah.
so everything's.
You want us to turn off the lights?
Yeah, that would be good.
Okay, next on our agenda is an update on the Hillcrest Estates. TIF and the Main Street Omnibus Amendment 3.
Yes. So, I wanted to let the group know that after this meeting in December, in January, I went to the select board meeting and talked about this amendment that we wanted to do for the Main Street TIF district and the creation of the new affordable housing TIF district. And I got the okay from the select board to move forward and create applications for both the affordable housing district and the amendment for the Main Street omnibus. The next step in this process is me bringing these back to the select board, these two applications, so that they can be approved to be put on the warrant in June.
Yep.
And unfortunately, as we're talking in February, the time frame for that is rapidly approaching.
Right,
Because
60
it
days in advance.
has to be in April, I believe, that was when the ballots need to be printed. So
Right.
I'm looking to bring this to the select board the first meeting in March, I think, with the two applications.
Yep.
We did, one of the issues that Joe was having was that the meeting, his application for the affordable home ownership program through Maine Housing was due on January 15th or something like that. And then the select board meeting was just a few days before that. So obviously, we're not able to approve the TIF districts in time, but Justin was able to write a letter to Maine Housing, letting them know that the process had been started and that the select board was receptive to these applications being drafted and we don't know what the voters will do, but the town select board was in favor of this next step going forward. So that was sent in with his application, and hopefully that will result in favorable outcome for him for funding.
Okay.
But that still leaves the reality of him needing to, to build these units and get that going. So, Ken, I'll say to answer your question, I've been working with Donna, the assessor, and these are property cards in the back, but I can pass this around, but basically Main Street here, and then he has built Sandy Drive,
Mhm.
which is kind of this
L-shaped thing.
L-shaped street. The lots in pink were from a subdivision that was previously approved, maybe in 1997,
Okay.
a long time ago. He is planning to go back to the planning board in March to have 5 or 6 lots up here
Right.
also added to the subdivision. So it will be the subdivision, including the road, and this property above the road on Sandy Drive. Whether it's 5 or 6 lots, that hasn't been finalized, I don't think. What I'm waiting on from him is the acreage of this property, because then because these aren't actually lots, I'm going to need to add up this acreage and remove it from 40-3, that big lot where he's talked about in the future adding an apartment complex.
Mhm.
So, yeah, so there's a lot going on here for this, but basically the affordable housing TIF will be the blue and the pink outline together.
Okay, so the homes the market-based homes in pink are gonna be part of this,
Yes,
affordable housing. And the TIF is gonna apply to those market-based homes as well.
Mhm.
Okay, and Maine Housing is gonna finance. They're not gonna, so just so that I can answer the question when it comes up. These market-based homes are part of the affordable housing TIF. He's gonna get a tax credit on those,
yes,
even though they're not affordable.
right,
And Maine Housing is cool with that in
Yes.
terms of providing the financing.
yes, that these mixed use, mixed market developments are fairly typical for Maine Housing,
Okay.
and there's a requirement that a certain percentage of them need to remain affordable
Okay,
for 15 years.
Okay.
I've looked at the plans, they're all very nice houses.
Sure.
So, I
Well,
think it's
and
gonna be a
I'm-
really nice looking.
I'm sure he's not gonna
subdivision.
do anything that would reduce the value of the fair market properties, because they're gonna be right across the street from
Right.
the affordable ones, so
Right.
I don't have any, I have very little worry about the quality of the construction. I wanted to make sure I understood correctly that our affordable housing TIF is gonna conform with the expectations of Maine Housing and with the state economic development people, because it's only a percentage of these homes that are affordable housing, not 100%.
Right, and that's typical for an affordable housing TIF district,
Okay.
that, you know, it's kind of this is a mixed, not a mixed use, but a mixed income development.
Right.
And that's, you know, in part to allow, that's not abnormal when we're talking about homes that are being sold off, because they're trying to balance the costs of constructing individual homes and then having some go market rate and some be less than market rate.
Right.
Honestly, that he could otherwise sell for market rate, especially.
Sure, another
These
20,
days,
20,
yeah.
30%.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but yes, they all are part of the affordable housing TIF district, and the credit enhancement agreement would be on all of those
Okay.
properties. And the select board felt comfortable with putting out to the voters a 20-year credit enhancement agreement at 50%. Which again, and this, isn't, I don't want to belabor this, but when we're talking about affordable housing TIF districts, in the grand scheme of the cost, that's really not a lot of money. These TIFs and CEAs are meant to show community support to Maine Housing, which is part of the scoring. The actual reimbursement itself doesn't usually make or break a project because the gap is much wider
Right.
than the reimbursement that we're offering.
Right.
But on the scoring, because this is a competitive scoring process, it's something that Maine Housing takes into account.
Right.
Alternate sources of income and community support
Right.
for the affordable housing district. So,
And just for the record, you guys probably already know this, but because we're being recorded, at the 50% mark, the town is making no concessions from the town. We're basically taking the 50% that would otherwise go to the county and to the state and to the RSU and forgiving that for 20 years at our discretion. Continuing to capture the value for the purposes of the town. And it's, if I remember correctly, your modeling assumed a very significant payback for the town over the course of 20 years, even when values were level,
yes, yep,
when the valuation had no year-to-year appreciation,
right.
which
Right. It was
is
a very conservative.
super conservative
Yeah,
assumption.
it was very
for
conservative.
real estate.
But yes, that is an important point, that because of the TIF district, the town, instead of losing those new taxes to what they call tax shifts, having to pay more to the county, getting less in school subsidy and getting less in revenue sharing, the town actually gets to allocate that money towards something that will benefit the town, in this case, making sure that these houses get built. So the town is actually taking that 50% that would have been lost and returning it to the developer for 20 years because of the structure of the TIF district. Did I confuse Ken?
The 50% is getting returned. So the town captures 50% that we can direct anywhere. Actually, I do have a question. I just want to make sure I understand. But so 2 buckets of money. The 50% that is the forgiveness or gets given back to the developer, right? And then the 50% that is captured by the town.
Okay, so let's be clear. So your Main Street TIF district only captures 50% of the value. The way, and Mark Burgess actually had this question, and Justin and I have talked about this, whether this should also be a 50% capture.
Yeah.
Or if it would be more beneficial to capture all of the value in the district, which would shelter all of the value. Otherwise, the other option is to just for the TIF district to cover only half of the new value, like the Main Street TIF district does, and give all of that back to the developer and have the other part of the new value go into your general fund. So there wouldn't be any TIF funds from the district for the town.
Okay.
And Mark was basically asking, are there enough projects that are allowed in statute that would benefit the town if we captured all of it? And I think Justin and I have come to the answer that yes, there's definitely ways that the town can use the money sheltered that would take other expenses off of the general fund money. So we get to keep all of the money and use it to offset what you would have to pay for general fund money,
Okay.
which is better.
So then we've got two percentages to be concerned about. The first percentage is the percentage that gets returned to the developer as an incentive to create affordable housing in Monmouth. And then the second percentage is the percentage of value of the appraised value, assessed value, that we wish to capture and shelter
Right.
in total.
Right.
And the purposes, can we set the purposes for the retained money, not the money, the incentive money, we'll call it retained money,
The TIF, the town's TIF funds.
the
yes.
town's TIF funds, can we use those in a similar purpose to our omnibus TIF?
They're different because it's an affordable housing TIF district, so there's different ways to use it.
Yep.
And I actually had printed out the statute for my purposes, because I've been looking through it.
Yep.
I don't do as many affordable housing TIF districts as I do economic development ones. But one of the ways that funding can be used is cost of funding to mitigate any adverse impact of the district on the municipality and its constituents. This funding may be used for funding public kindergarten to grade 12 costs and public facilities and improvements. I thought that was a good one to look into more.
So we could use it to offset our RSU expenses?
Yeah. So I have sent, so the Maine Housing has an attorney who approves TIF districts, and so I have sent her an email to figure out exactly how that works, since we don't know how many students might be in this new affordable housing development. There could be none, conceivably. There could be someone in every house. So how does that?
Does it have to necessarily be tied to the number?
I don't
of
know.
kids? Yeah.
And that's because I haven't done as many of these types of TIF districts, so I
Yeah.
need to ask them how it gets
Yeah, I
applied.
mean, that seems like pretty overly granular.
Yeah, well,
Because people are gonna move in, sell their house, move to some, I mean, it's gonna be.
I agree. And I just want to make sure, though, I just want to make sure that there isn't, because, in some cases, they talk about passing the straight face test. So for example, you can't use in the economic development TIF district, we can't use all of our funding for the fire department. For
Right.
example, right? That's an overcompensation of funds. When we think about the Main Street Omnibus TIF district. So I just want to know what their standard is, so we're not sending something in that they're going to reject.
Right.
Basically.
So that's something. Could
That's
be
something.
school costs.
Could be, and so some other ones that, again, I always look first to figure out what costs will that you wouldn't have to use you're already paying for, but this would allow you to pay it with TIF funds instead of general fund revenue. So there's administrative costs, including but not limited to charges for time spent by municipal employees in connection with the implementation of the affordable housing program. That would be Justin, that would be Donna,
Right.
and that's already a small portion of their salaries are already in the other two districts, but you want to just keep
Right.
adding that to each one. Let's see, that was for calling a meeting. Cost of public safety improvements made necessary by the establishment of the district. Again, can we put, a little more money towards fire or police or something like
Fire
that?
hydrant
Right, anything. So.
goes into the street. I don't know if they're putting in a water main with a hydrant or how that works.
But those are some of the things that, again, would be my first choice in
Okay.
terms of assigning the TIF revenues, like, yes.
Can I just wrap my head around it like a little more in terms of just dollar value? So we incentivize the builder to get 50% of the tax,
Property tax.
property tax. So if it's $3,000, 1,500 goes to the builder.
Yep.
And then we could do 100%, which is 3,000 back to the builder.
No, well,
No.
you
You could.
could,
But we have it at 50%,
Right.
which is just what we're talking about now, which can be allocated to special projects or general.
Right, so you can, on the Main Street TIF district, you only capture 50% of that new value. And the other half goes into your general fund.
Yep.
And since you don't have a credit enhancement agreement, like CMP did not get a credit enhancement agreement for doing that substation. So the town, so you have half of those go into your TIF fund. It can be only used for special TIF projects
Yeah.
by statute, and then the other half flows into your general fund. So
And
it's
not sheltered.
unrestricted funds, but it's not sheltered. So that means that you get dinged on your county taxes, aids education. And so it's a delicate balance. And usually more rural towns have a harder time spending their TIF revenue.
We've got plenty of projects that we can spend
Right.
stuff on.
Right, because
just
you don't
because
have a
we-
lot of TIF revenue.
Well, there's that, and there's also, we've got a lot of deferred maintenance on some things that qualify, right? I mean, like the sidewalks haven't been touched in 70-something years, so.
And that's the other thing, when part of this, amendment, we need to increase the sidewalk budget for the Main Street district, so we can do that while we're taking this property out, so we don't have to vote on that 3 different times.
Right.
We'll update the costs, and, so that way those sidewalks can be paid for, in the district,
Right.
so.
Right.
So that's the update, and like I said, this will be going, back to the select board in March to be put on the ballot in June. We will have to have a public hearing, which I'm thinking makes more sense to have closer to the election when people are paying attention.
Well, we do, basically the select board has a meeting about every warrant item.
Yeah.
So we can just make that part of, it's just another warrant item.
Right, and the town has to put out a 10-day notice for that public hearing though, so I just want to make sure we coordinate that all, but that's what's going on with that.
And the feedback last time around the warrant was, what does this language actually mean from a lot of people?
Yeah, so I mean, when we did the follow-up to the warrant stuff, we put in a paragraph of explanations for those people who didn't want to come to a meeting and actually come to a public hearing and understand that. So if they just wanted an explanation, then I would imagine we're going to continue that tradition on the warrant, and it'll, just be a paragraph that explains what the question is about. Will have been reviewed by our town council to make sure that we're not unduly influencing voters, and that it's an objective description of the effect of the warrant item. And that would probably apply to every warrant item at this point, because we're not getting a whole lot of attendance at meetings. And then we get a whole lot of questions after the meetings when people say, well, how come I didn't know? Well, it's because you didn't come to the meeting for the public hearing, which is what that was intended for. Okay.
All right.
So there'll be some outreach. And also, I would imagine in the newsletter that Dennis puts out on a regular basis.
Right.
He'll have some sort of review of all the warrant items for that newsletter. Okay, anything else on our item number 3, the Hillcrest Estates and the Main Street Omnibus Amendment? And the Main Street Omnibus Amendment basically is removing these properties from the omnibus
Main
TIF.
Street
Yep, and then putting them into this new TIF, and then making a few adjustments in terms of categories of budgeting within the Main Street TIF.
Yeah,
Because
basically
we've
numbers.
reallocated some stuff now.
So
that
are
we
the
have some
percentages
money.
off from what we're talking the percentage buckets that we talked about?
Yeah.
A while ago.
Dollar,
One was
it's
lower
actually
than-
dollar buckets, but yeah,
Okay,
Yeah, we changed it to dollar.
but it was too low
Yeah.
in some categories.
Yeah.
for the 20 years that he's.
So that will be good to be able to get that.
All right, next up is item number 4, Economic Development Committee Goal Review. Goal review, and I
Right.
take it that this is this
Yes, so.
spreadsheet.
About 7 months ago, this committee came up with some goals for the Economic Development Committee and the Economic Development Office around items relating to economic development in town. And so I thought it would be good, since we're about a little past the halfway point, to look at what has been done. And as budgeting is coming up, or as you guys are in the midst of budgeting, basically.
Yep.
Thinking about what might want to be encouraged, you know, where you would like to direct my time. And just kind of have a conversation of seeing, you know, where we want to go with some of these items. So we had come up with 7 goals that were short to midterm. So, you know, anywhere from immediately to 4 or 5 years out. And I would say that the town, and I did talk to Dennis about this, with the e-newsletter, because we had, if the group remembers, we had a big discussion around communication and marketing for the town, both
Mhm.
internal and external communication. And it seems simultaneously, the town had a small crisis in the realm of internal communication during these last few months, which prompted the creation of the e-newsletter, or the print and online newsletter.
Right.
That Dennis has taken on. And so, you know, some of the items that we had for goals have been addressed to some degree with the creation of that position.
Yep.
And the question becomes, how might we be able to build on that, expand? Are there other directions that we need to go in? And what else can we do as we start looking at, you know, spring coming, people coming
Sure.
back to town, you know, all of the tourism and other things that we've talked about in the past.
Right. So, just a quick update. Because Garrett is with me on the, let me just make sure that it's not Andy. Because Garrett's with me on the Trails Committee. He already knows what's going on there, but so that you guys know, we're drawing to a conclusion our application for a grant for state bond money that will, if it is successful, will create like a 2-mile trail, accessible to all, down behind the RSU on the old cross-country trails in the woods down there. It's a big chunk of money. It's a lot of construction because there's some wet spots down there that need to be elevated and drainage needs to be controlled for. So it's a bigger project than just, you know, hey, let's go cut a trail through the woods. It's not like a snowmobile trail where you can just like trim stuff back, the ground freezes up and you're good to go. It's a little more complicated than that. A lot more infrastructure. And we're building it on a level that would be accessible to even folks with mobility concerns and wheelchairs and that sort of thing. So it's going to be accessible to everyone. We've got another meeting coming up in a couple of weeks, and we've got another meeting shortly after that with the school board and the RSU2 people, to kind of keep them in the loop and continue to expect their support. So that's where we are with that. I also know that Dennis has put in a preliminary figure into his budget request for Compton Hall for the trail system, short trail system, sort of a U-shaped trail system behind Compton in the wooded area back there. That one would come out of TIF funds. It's probably on the order of $20,000 to $30,000 in that sort of range. We'll have to have 3 bidders on the work, so we'll definitely get a competitive price. That one doesn't seem as much of an infrastructure investment because it's dry area back there, and we're not necessarily designing that one for 100% accessibility. We're designing it for, something that will fit into the budget that we have. So those 2 things are underway. And I also know that there are going to be some incidental expenses involved with some of those trails, specifically having to do with signage and kind of the icing on the cake. Like once the trail's in, then we have to figure out the marketing and the usability of it and how do we make sure that people know where to park. And, there's going to be some, I'm sure some incidental requests for miscellaneous things to, once we've learned how people are actually using the trails, how we want to, market it. That's where we're at with trail systems. I should say that at our next trail meeting, we are going to be talking about item number 5 on this list, goal number 5 on this list, which is a small scale trial of allowing golf carts, ATVs, and side-by-sides on public ways in Monmouth. We're going to take a look at some sensible areas in town that would get people from, a populated residential area to a business. So folks want to go to the beach and they want to come from up here on Academy Road. They could hop into a golf cart and go down to the beach and do that legally, not have to feel like they have to avoid the cops. And Academy Road, I think, is probably going to be a significant corridor for that because it's fairly low speed, 30-mile-an-hour speed limit, which I think would make sense. We're trying to get as much of the pedestrian traffic away from Main Street as possible, using every means possible. So we're working on that. I noticed in this box here, it says state law prohibits this. State law allows it if the town dots all the i's and crosses the t's.
Is that ATV?
ATV, side-by-side, and golf carts on a public way. On a municipally managed road, on a town road, the select board has the authority to grant and take away permissions. On a state administered road like Main Street, the select board would have to request permission of the commissioner of DOT for permission. Which is one of the reasons why it's actually pretty easy, because it doesn't really, other than filling out some paperwork, it doesn't cost anything. Except for some signs. So there may be some signage involved in that piece too. Some incidental things that say, be aware, golf carts can be on this road from this point all the way down to Main Street or whatever, right? Maybe we can come up with some signage protocol. Maybe we can borrow something from the couple dozen different towns in Maine that actually do this on a regular basis.
There are some allowances for signage, streetscapes, et cetera, for TIF funds
Yeah.
too. So just keeping that in mind, as we're having the discussion. So especially the same thing with Compson, you know, that's marketing, economic development,
Yep.
things like that. So, just keeping that on the radar.
Sure. And that brings me to another topic. We were talking a little bit about, we did the Public Works budget in the last workshop of the select board. And I brought up the issue of, can the TIF cover signage? Justin was like, I don't think so. So he may need to hear from
Yeah.
our resident expert about whether signage is an expense that we could justify as economic development.
And what kind of signage are we, like, beach this way type of stuff? I mean,
I mean, listen,
Yeah.
I mean, probably the most important sign in the downtown area is, where is the public restroom?
right,
Okay, because we don't have anything on Main Street that points people in that direction. Like, they have no idea. So they go into the general store, hey, you got a restroom, they tell them where it is, they get back into their car, they drive over to the beach, and they use the restroom. I mean, it's nonsense. So public restroom, could be directions to the beach, could be, beach and boat launch directions. I think we have something on Main Street for the boat launch, no?
yeah, you do.
But not for the beach.
Yep.
Not posted. Right, and we are considering, putting a warrant item on the town ballot that would allow the town to, charge non-residents for beach use, which is something we've wanted to do for a while. We were not successful last time around because of a whole lot of controversy over stuff on the warrant. I think, this time around, we've got a much better chance of success. And especially if it's, if it's in combination with, some good marketing about, resident versus non-resident. I mean, that could be part of the sign, right? Says residents, free beach access, right?
What happens
And,
now? Do we just turn away non-residents?
no, we allow anybody. And what it has the potential to do, it's caused a problem a couple of times. But if we continue to grow the draw of our investment in infrastructure down there, as we have over the last 5 years, we're gonna have a parking problem. We're gonna have, residents who are tax-paying people who are paying the expense of the beach, who are inconvenienced by people who are not residents and not stakeholders in paying for the resource. So, so I think there are a lot of people who would appreciate, taxpayers would appreciate, us charging a nominal fee. I don't think we're gonna make it impossible for people, but it would be, as competitive as some of the other charges in the surrounding communities, because there are plenty of communities that do charge non-resident access to their town-owned beach. And, I mean, it could be, $5 a day or, $20 for a car full of people, for someone to get into the beach. So that's coming. Other signage questions, and this might actually be something that you could talk to Justin about as well. I've noticed around town that we have excellent signs at street corners that describe the street, the minor street, not the major street. Right? So if you go to most tourism communities, you've got street signs that face both ways. So when you're from away, you pull up and you can say, oh, this is Route 135, right? I can turn left or right. As opposed to, pulling up and saying, oh, I'm on Sanborn Road. Where am I? What road is this? Right? So my question would be, is it possible that the TIF funding could be used for the additional signage to make that experience a little more user-friendly?
That is less clear to me, but that would be an easy question for the attorney.
Right.
So,
Okay, well, that would be one that I think would be, well, first of all, I think it would in sort of an item number 6, improve communication with visitors.
yeah,
I mean, that's basically what that is.
Yeah. Good.
So,
yes.
I've been doing all the talking. What do you got there, Doug? What do you got there in terms of our goals for the rest of the year for this committee?
Beyond what's here.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. I hadn't thought about it.
Well, I had put, there are a couple of other things that I've been thinking about, which I'll likely just do on my own side, but just there are two things. I'm wondering whether the in-progress comprehensive plan has done an inventory of the properties kind of in downtown Monmouth in terms of who owns them, what the use is. Sometimes that's part of a comprehensive plan process. And I wouldn't want to reinvent the wheel, but if that hasn't been done, that's always a good exercise to kind of just see who owns what property, what the current use is, what, have they been holding on, it just allows for some conversations, sometimes with property owners, if, what their intentions, very benignly, but just kind of to get a better sense of planning for properties downtown. There's a lot of kind of paved spaces that it's unclear. Are they part of a lot? Are they their own lot? Are they former parking spaces? Are they driveways? Just kind of, it's not particularly dense. So when you're going through, is there opportunities for construction? Are there opportunities for who knows what? But it's sometimes a good exercise to look at kind of what the properties that you have
Sure.
are.
I would certainly be in favor of spending some time doing that, especially the bank property that has now, used to be Bangor Savings, right?
Yes.
They closed up like 9 years ago, 8 years ago.
But that hasn't been that long, has it?
It's been at least 4.
Oh, it's much longer than that.
Yeah.
Since I've lived there, it's at least 5.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's well maintained. There's nothing wrong with that property. It's not like it's fallen apart or it's overgrown or anything. Someone's clearly been keeping up
Right.
the property. But you would think that the holding costs of that are substantial enough that someone would be like, maybe I should do something with this.
Well, I have spoken with the group that, or maybe it's the owner of the property himself, and he's asked me to keep an eye out for banks that might want to come into the area, but there doesn't seem to be a whole lot of, active,
Well,
pursuit of a tenant for that property. So-
maybe that would be, we've got a planning board meeting about the proposal for 1063.
Yes, this week, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, this week, yeah.
Yeah, and, if some sort of commitment comes out of that meeting, maybe that's the kind of momentum swing that would allow an economic development person to go reach out to some of the other property owners along Main Street and say, hey, look, you know, this is happening. What can we do to help you take advantage of that?
Right.
Right? Because, I mean, maybe there would be a bank if there's, I mean, hypothetically, if there are 60 new households in Monmouth on Main Street, maybe that's enough for a bank to say, oh, maybe it does make sense for us to have a branch here.
Right.
Or,
Okay, right here.
I know, yeah,
Not a lot of physical,
not a lot of physical stuff
yeah,
in a bank. I don't know the banking business,
yeah.
but you're right.
I still go to my physical bank.
I mean, Monmouth Federal Credit Union, which is my bank, does a tremendous amount of walk-in business.
Yeah.
Because it's convenient. Um. Yeah, I don't know if, I mean, it would probably be a regional thing, so Camden National or, you know, some sort of small or medium-sized bank that's already got a presence.
Yeah.
Wants to sort of follow where the customers are going.
So that's one thing. The other thing that I was interested in looking into is, and we may not have time to go into this in great detail, but there are organizations that have kind of grassroots planning steps or roadmaps for towns, for example, that are interested in bolstering their center of town or their downtown. And the Maine Development Foundation has these affiliate programs and then these municipal programs that would require probably a group of people who were very invested in the downtown, in this case, probably the museum, any business owners that were in that part of Monmouth, maybe the greenhouse, you know, some other things, to kind of, build some momentum around that area, propose signage, propose ideas for getting people into town, be kind of a mini downtown group type of thing.
Yeah.
My question about that is, and what I would need to explore further is if Monmouth actually has the density to qualify as a downtown area,
Mm.
you know, and they have criteria for that but I just don't know if Monmouth has that density to qualify. But if it did, it might be something that would be interesting for, you know, and it would be up to the businesses kind of in that area if they wanted to band together and
Right.
work through this program.
That's worth looking into.
Yeah, and
And,
so,
and this committee could be, you know, the point of contact for that.
Right. Right.
And I bet you, someone from the age-friendly committee would probably also want to participate in that. Sounded to me like there was a lot of interest in sort of, you know, downtown design and walkability stuff from the age-friendly committee.
yeah, that would be great to get, you know, some overlap on those groups if it did come to
Yeah.
pass.
Yeah.
So just on terms of signage, adding businesses, is that coverable with TIF money?
Like business signage.
This bakery here or
Oh,
this
like,
brewery,
yeah, I mean, sometimes in some municipalities you have,
but does that TIF out, I mean, I guess my question is
a lot-
similar to the street signs where at least we make it known like 5 miles that way.
sometimes those are paid for by the actual business as opposed to the town. But I don't know the answer to that. I mean, I don't know why it wouldn't be. Again, I mean, that's kind of directly marketing businesses in town.
Yeah.
But the question would be, does the town want to pay for that? Or is that some sort of program that, you know, hey, business, you can put, you know, your sign at the end of 202 and Main Street, that there's a bakery down here. That's, that's a question to consider.
Right.
Doesn't the state already do this? Or,
The state organizes it and does the installation, but the business has to pay the expense. And it's not,
I'm sure
it's nominal. I mean, it's like $120 or $150 or something. And, the business gets to design the sign, but it has to fit on that little plaque. And then you have to go through the process of getting DOT to put it up. So that it meets their standards and goes in the place where they want it, and it's not gonna be a problem for them.
So just going back to these first three, or just one or two, the e-newsletter.
Yep.
Are we actively participating with the newsletter? So I know that the town is sending one out, but are we sending them things to say?
We had our own section,
Okay.
and it was talking
okay.
about business, and
Okay.
we have TIF districts, and we have revolving loan fund, and, contact us.
Did we put a pitch in for additional members?
We did.
Okay.
We did, and
Anyone know
Clearly,
any
right.
additional members?
Dennis, I did talk to Dennis, and he said he had some ideas that he was going
Oh,
to
cool.
send my way, so I thought that would,
And this again, I should probably know this. What's the frequency of the newsletter? Is it monthly?
orderly.
Quarterly?
So the next one will be in March, I think.
Yeah.
So that is happening. I will say, just skipping back to the goals. I'm still, my dream among all dreams is to make Monmouth a destination for, tourists who don't want to go to Booth Bay and Bar Harbor and all of these overly. And so I don't know if anyone's ever been to Monson,
Yes.
Maine, but
Tiny little place.
I stumbled upon it when my kids and I got we were tenting overnight in a glamping tent in Rockland. And then we're just hiking during the day, but we drove through Monson.
Yeah.
And there are 600 residents
Yeah,
in
it's
Monson.
tiny.
I mean, it's crazy. But I just thought this was really interesting. They are part of the Main Street Maine affiliate program. So they're one of these communities that's kind of organized around promoting themselves as a destination and things like that. And I put their website and also Norway's downtown website on this, which is kind of more the size of Monmouth, has 5,200 residents. But Monson is just very interesting to me. So this is their town's website, but it is forward facing as a marketing site. I mean, it just really and it also has the town information and
Yep.
when the meetings are and all of that good stuff. But you see news from town offices down here. But when you go to the site, oops, oh God, what just happened? I went too fast. When you go to Monson's site,
That's an elegant site.
it is. And again, when you think about the size of the town, it's just,
Yeah.
it's funny.
So there's a history back. I know a little bit about the history of Monson. Just because I was in the legislature when this was starting to come together. And I had a chance to talk with some of the people, the representatives and senators who were covering Monson. Monson was basically a deserted town and had the benefit of a nonprofit kind of take it under its wings and try to seed some arts, culture, and tourism-based economic activity to bring something into the town because there was absolutely nothing. And this nonprofit went in and bought up like a third of the town, like literally just because it was cheap, because nobody wanted to be there. So they bought up a third of the town and started, making very significant reinvestment in the town. It's great to see that they have come
Right.
to fruition here. And they are sort of now, the darling of rural Maine tourism.
Yeah. And
Uh,
it's very neat. I mean, you
yeah.
just see, you know, hikers, artists, retirees, something to offer everyone, learn about everything Monston, Maine has to offer. So just a neat little example of a micro town that is
That can
putting
do something.
marketing first. And I didn't realize it wasn't as organic as that, but
Yeah.
you know, there are other examples, and both of these are downtown affiliate programs.
Sure.
But I mean, like, I just went on their site, it's really easy to use, which is a plus, but also like, I was like, oh, what's the. Like, they have a whole section on recreation trails and maps, and then they have pictures of maps, and some of them are hand drawn. I mean, it's like, it's not impossible to do.
Oh, no,
It's just an
this is,
initiative, yeah,
this is, I mean, we could totally do that.
yeah,
And this is actually, I mean, if you think about Monmouth's town website, it is very detailed. We've got all the stuff we need to have so that if you spend the time, you can go find it. But it's utilitarian.
Yeah.
It's not
Not marketing.
marketing.
No.
It's very sort of industrial grade website. So hiring somebody to do something like this is not pricey. I mean, that would be, you know, a couple $1,000 to hire somebody to, you
Which
know,
would be paid for.
with TIF money, but it would, yeah, a web designer who's got, you know, a good artistic sense and attention to detail.
Yeah.
And you say, here are all the pieces, right? We've already got them. We need new window dressing to sort of, you know, give it some flair, because we don't have any flair on our website.
No, but again, one of the many things that Monmouth has above Monson and other places is Cumston Hall.
Right.
You know, I mean, it's just,
it's here already. You said.
Yeah.
Well, it's Cumston Hall, it's theater at Monmouth, it's the lakes, it's agriculture.
Yeah.
I mean,
I've been to Monson, but I don't remember where it is.
it's up near Quebec and
South of-
It's up
it's,
on the way to Greenville.
yeah, it's up in that, up in that neck of the woods. And it is literally, you know, a 600-person town out in the middle of nowhere.
Appalachian Trail goes through there or goes by.
According to their website, yes,
Yeah. Yeah.
it was easy to find.
Garrett's just.
So that's a great example
Yeah.
of, you know, the possibilities, because
Yeah, and there's also the,
that is not expensive.
No.
It's just actually getting people, you know, to circle up.
which is what this downtown affiliate program is supposed to
Right.
do. It's supposed to kind of organize people around, you know, offerings and marketing and what they want to
Right.
highlight for the town. Which, and again, there's a lot of things to highlight, and just how do you get people together to do it?
Sure.
So anyway, so the other example I had was Norway downtown. That's not their town site, but it's their downtown site, and it's also very marketing focused, tourism focused. So you guys, if you know, in your spare time, you can, look at those.
Cool.
So
Excellent.
if we were doing that, though, we'd have to have two separate websites.
Not necessarily. Monson is the example where, you know, they kind of meld them into one, and then there are towns that separate them, you know, kind of their marketing site and then their
Town
Their
organizational
town, yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
Like, here's the link to all the ordinances in town, right? Here's the town calendar. If you want to know when your meeting is and where it's located and where's the Zoom link.
right.
Yes, it's a nice website, yeah. Like, there's a section just for residents. You know, wouldn't be relevant if you're traveling from away. Like,
Right.
I
Right.
want-
Yeah, ours is totally, you know,
Didn't,
municipal.
but didn't it get refreshed
Yeah.
recently?
Oh,
Yeah.
Well, it got refreshed and scrubbed, right? Because we had a lot of stuff that hadn't been used or that, you know, things had changed and they need to be updated. So it's actually a very useful tool. There's nothing wrong with our website. It's just, it's not
It's not a marketing.
welcoming.
Right.
To someone from away. It's great if, you know, you're a year rounder and you go, what's the ordinance on the requirements for sidewalk clearing? Right? And you can go find it because it's all there, right? Or, you know, what's the Zoom link for the select board meeting?
You go up there.
Yeah, so yeah, I mean, it's not, all of
Keep the
that,
site as is, you just go up a layer and just add something on top.
add something on top and it's just that piece of it is a separate branch that says.
Residents.
Yeah.
For residents.
Yeah.
They
You're
go
around
right-
us.
Yeah, then people from away.
Yeah. And, yeah, and that would not be an expensive proposition to hire. I mean, there's a bazillion people who do that stuff. And, I just did that with my own business website. It's like hired somebody for $1,000. This is what I do in the off season. They go through and they, you know, go through your website and tell you, oh, you need to soften this up and get these to line up and make this. Give me all your pictures and I'll do something with your pictures. And then, you know, they come back with this beautiful thing. $1,000 later. All right. Other questions? New member suggestions. Item 5. All right, we're gonna circle back on Dennis, who's got some ideas. Item 6, other business. Item 7, last call.
Just go anywhere, once that gets shut down.
Yep. Dennis posts it to our YouTube channel.
Oh, he does?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
And yeah, and people who have signed up for notifications get notified that there is a new economic
Yeah.
development committee.
So anyone who wants to
Meeting.
watch it, come watch it. So
So it's
no
not-
foul language.
No, it's not like when we're done, it's dead.
No,
No.
That was one of the things that Dennis requested is that we have to have an official adjournment so that he knows when to turn off the recording and post it to the website. So do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
All those in favor? We are adjourned. It is 7:03. Thank you all.